everyone, it's Kid Girl here today to make a video on my leopard gecko enclosures. I have owned leopard geckos for about a year now, so I thought this would be a good time to talk about my enclosures, show my enclosures, and do all that. Simply because I will grow as a leopard gecko owner. I mean, I'm gonna have these guys for what, 20 plus years? I thought it would be a good time to film, talk about my reasoning, and then we can see how it changes over time, and one day, whenever I'm 40, we can look back on this and see how much my care has changed, if it has. If you see anything in this video that you disagree with, whether that be because of my care or my setup, let me know, comment it down below, but please be kind because I will not put up with assholes. Let's get right into it. I own 3 leopard geckos, Livia, Augie, and Octavia. I didn't really plan on having 3 this soon, but it happened. Here they are. You can see some of them. I will try to be linking everything down below, or a majority of things, mainly the shelving unit that they are on, their glass enclosures, everything else you can kind of look up. It's pretty broad. Everything else I'm using, generic. We're gonna start with Octavia because she's on the bottom and work our way up. Octavia is my newest leopard gecko. She is probably in the enclosure I like the least out of all of them. Because she wasn't planned, I really didn't have the funds to invest in another nice enclosure. I already had this 40-gallon in my home, so I decided to use that because it wasn't being used for anything else. I already had a screen lid for it. We were good to go in that department. Octavia is in a reused aquatic aquarium. I do not know the exact price of it. You can find them online. Her setup barely cost me anything. I think overall Octavia's setup cost me less than $50 simply because her heat mat was like $30 and then her decor. And her decor even then was only like $10, so less than $50 for sure. Because she's a rescue, I didn't have to pay anything for her. Well, she was given to me. I really like her enclosure in the terms of looks. I think it looks really nice, but it is really hard to get into because of my shelving unit. That is why I wanted front opening enclosures, because of my shelving unit, but I did raise all my shelves so I could get in there, but it is still really hard to clean. And she does kind of get freaked out whenever my hands all of a sudden show up. It's also kind of harder to feed her whenever, you know, I'm all of a sudden, there's a mealworm in her face. She's like, whoa. You know, just things like that. She is also on the bottom, which I have been like, I don't really know how I feel about that because my cats like to stare at her. And my one cat, Bud, I swear, you'll hear about her in future videos. She's such a fucking diva and she always needs everything, I swear. She's like the gray menace in the household. Anyways, but she loves to scratch at the cage, which I always tell her no, and I'm like, stop it, and then she runs, but it is not good because my main fear is, Octavia, I don't want you to be dropping your tail. But luckily, I am teaching the cats not to do that, and overall, Octavia is normally asleep when that happens. I really like this enclosure for her. If she wasn't on the shelf, I think it would make it a lot easier. But it also didn't cost me any money, so I'm kind of glad about that, you know, because then I didn't have to spend more money that I didn't have, just to get an enclosure. I already had this enclosure. Next we have Augie. Augie is my first leopard gecko. He's my baby. He is in the 40-gallon Exo Terra. The 40-gallon Exo Terra, I honestly never planned on buying. Whenever I got Livia, I knew I would have to get another 20-gallon Exo Terra. So I was like, but they're $120, and even though I have $120, I wonder if someone's selling one for cheap. And I went onto Craigslist and someone was selling a brand new 40-gallon, he had multiples of them, for $150. So I decided to invest my money and get the 40-gallon Exo Terra. And let me tell you, Augie uses every single inch of it. Same thing with Octavia. They use every single inch of their 40 gallons. And after having Augie in a 20-gallon to a 40-gallon, I honestly kind of think leopard geckos should be in like a 30-gallon plus. The 20-gallon now just seems so small, especially compared to how much Augie and Octavia use it. I love the 40-gallon. I think it's really pretty. I love that it's front opening. That is really nice. Again, it has a lot of space for decor and overall looks so nice. And again, Augie uses every single inch of it. In general, if you can, I would definitely go for something bigger for a full-grown leopard gecko. Now, if your leopard gecko is a baby whenever you get them, I would recommend putting them in either a 10 or 20 gallon. That way they kind of don't get too stressed out from such a large environment. Augie was definitely stressed out as a baby just from being in a 20-gallon. So keep that in mind. Don't just plop your baby in a 40-gallon. They'll be like, what the fuck? Moving on to Livia. Livia is in a 20-gallon Exo Terra. She is in the first Exo Terra I ever bought, and that originally had Augie in it. Now, the reason why she is in a smaller enclosure is because she has severe metabolic bone disease, so she kind of has to army crawl everywhere, and I don't really know if she would use the space like my other two do because she can't really climb as easily. She doesn't really move a lot in general. I have noticed her being more active as of recently, but in general, she stays hiding and she enjoys that. So it again depends on also the personality and the health of your leopard gecko. I like the 20-gallon, but again, after having a 40-gallon for 2 leopard geckos, I kind of feel like it's a little too small. Now let's talk about some basic things that are in my enclosures. All 3 of my leopard geckos have log hides. I love log hides for my Leos. I think they just look so cute. And all 3 of them love it because their heat mat is directly under it. I like these because then I can peek around the corner and see if they're sleeping there, and it's really cute. Sometimes I wake them up and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll go away. But in general, they do seem to really enjoy their log hides. Again, their heat mat is directly under it. Another thing is their substrate is kitchen liners, shelf kitchen liners. I get mine from Walmart. They're really nice. They come in a roll and then you can just cut them. I like the way they look. I think they look really natural. I like my enclosures because I feel like they look a little more natural, although not really because it's kind of hard to accomplish that with leopard geckos because you don't really want them on loose substrate, although that is something that people are experimenting with. Loose substrate can cause impaction and some other health issues. Then all my other guys have all sorts of driftwood in there. Cork wood. I really like adding cork wood or cork rounds to them. So far only Livia has one, although I do have another one that isn't in right now because I don't really think the other 2 would like theirs. And I have, again, the driftwood, which is really good because, for example, Augie really likes climbing on his. And then all of my fake plants are from Walmart for the most part. Walmart has fake plants for pretty cheap. Just make sure you rinse them first. That is really recommended. That way they don't have anything on them and then your leopard geckos will be safe. Something else, I do have paper towels in mine for the areas that they poop and pee in. That is simply because they poop and pee in certain areas and it's, well, poop and pee. They, you know, they're little bird-looking craps. The waste goes onto the paper towels because that is where they choose to poo. And then I can clean those up really easily. All 3 do have a calcium dish, which is always a thing that I have. I have plain calcium in there with multivitamins in case my guys ever feel that they are not getting enough calcium. Then I have water bowls. Livia's water bowl is a little more shallow. That is again because she has metabolic bone disease. I've always been worried that if she were to fall into something a little bit steeper, I don't really know how she'd do getting out if I had a bowl like the other 2. You know, so hers is a little bit shallower so she can drink easily and, you know, army crawl herself over there. Other than that, she does get regular soaks for her stuck shed because she has metabolic bone disease. So I don't really worry that much about her water intake. And then the other 2 have some nice looking water bowls. I know some people are always like, you don't need nice looking water bowls. I personally like the way they look. Like, if I'm gonna have these guys for 20 years, I want their enclosures to look nice. Some other things I have are all of my humid hides are made from Tupperware containers that were originally had like lunch meat in them, and I cut a hole in them. Now, to make sure they're not sharp, I took hot glue around mine and went around the edges to just make sure there's a nice little layer that can protect them in case there are some sharp edges. You can sand down the edges. I just used hot glue because that's what I had. And then inside is coconut fiber. I can't remember what it's called, coconut block. It comes in like the big block and you wet it and then it becomes loose. I have that in mind. All of them are currently dry right now because none of them are in shed. My guys really like sleeping in their humid hides and it's really cute. Although I will say Octavia does get off her shed without ever going in her humid hide. That is because of her old home. Her old home never had a humid hide, but she never had problems with her shed. So now she just like, I'll watch her and she'll be out of her humid hide just taken off all of her shed, and then we got these two who struggle even with a humid hide. I do have some rocks in there. Those are rocks from outside that I got and then I sanitized. You can either bake them, I'm pretty sure, or wash them. That's what I did and added them just for some more textures and for them to climb on and all that jazz. It's really good to, in my opinion, to give your leopard geckos enrichment and give them the chance to experience different things. If I had to rank my enclosures personally, I would say Augie's is first, then Livia's, and then Octavia's. Currently, Octavia's, I think, does need some more fake plants in it on one side, but that's about it. Much else I can say. It's a pretty simple thing. I hope you guys enjoy seeing the clips of my enclosures and me talking about them. If you have any questions, please ask down below. If you liked the video, like and subscribe. If you didn't, then goodbye.